Hey everyone, in this tutorial you will learn how to transform the subscribe icon into this in Photoshop. You can use the techniques you will learn today to build similar icons that you can use in your projects. We have a lot of things to cover, so prepare your coffee and let's get started. Hey everyone, my name is Tathis and today we are using Photoshop to create a cool subscribe icon. At the end of this video, I will also show you a technique on how to avoid drawing pixelated shapes. Before we start the tutorial, make sure you subscribe in the channel to not miss any tutorials. Drop a like if you enjoy the video, and if you have any suggestions regarding design of icons using Photoshop, feel free to leave a comment below. Let's start by going to File, New to create a new document in Photoshop. We will set the name to YouTube logo. And I will set the size to 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels, as I will use the subscribe icon as my thumbnail. A good size of a high quality icon is 1200 pixels by 1200 pixels, but it depends on your preferences. The resolution is set to 300 pixels per inch. The color mode is RGB color. The background is set to white. Both color profile and pixel aspect ratio are fine. Okay, let's press create. Now the first thing to do is to unlock the layer to be able to edit it. Select the layer and change the name to BG, as this will be our background layer. Now we need to click on the foreground icon to change the background layer to a lighter color. That looks good to me. So select the paint bucket tool and change the color of the layer. Now we need to create a new layer and let's name it to SB subscribe button 1 BG background. I'm just going to use the initials here. Now we need to draw the background of the subscribe button, which will has a red color. So we need to change the color to red. We already have the background color set to red, so press this small icon here to bring the background color as a foreground color, or you just press the X key on your keyboard. This is a fast way to switch between the selected colors. Then select the rounded rectangle tool and draw a rectangle. Now let's make the color darker, so we need to select the color picket and type the color code DF0404. Now we need to decrease the radius of the corners so we can bring it down to, let's say, 20 pixels looks good to me. Now to center the layer, first select the layer and go to select all or press Ctrl and A in Windows or Command and A in Mac, and you will see that the align tools will be activated. Then press on the horizontal and vertical icons to center the rectangle, and then we need to go back to select and press deselect. You can also press Ctrl and D in Windows or Command and D in Mac. Now press Ctrl and T in Windows or Command and T in Mac to size the rectangle. Let's make it a bit longer. Now we need to create a new layer for the subscribe text and let's name it to text. Brilliant. Now we need to change the color to white and then select the horizontal type tool. And let's write subscribe. What we need to do now is to center the text using the same procedure we used before. Select the text and align it in both vertical and horizontal directions, and then press deselect. Now create a new layer and place it above the background layer, and we can type subscribe button to background. So just copy and paste this text and just change the number from 1 to 2. Now we need to bring some lines to draw our background shape. But as you can see, the visibility of the lines is not clear. So we need to change the background to another color. So select the background layer and let's change the color to, let's say, brown. And then select the paint bucket tool and then change the color. Now we need to bring more lines down, so I will bring one there We need another one line there. And another one line there. And we need to bring more lines in the vertical direction. So one there. One there. We will bring another one there. And another one there. Now make sure you have the layer selected and then click on the pen tool. Make sure you have the shape selected and not path in the pick tool mode. Now let's change the color again to gray, and we'll need to press at the corner there, 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 and there. And that's it. So you can see that the shape has already been formed, and now we just need to remove the lines. Now if you intend to use a pen tool, this is a very useful tool to accurately draw any shapes. Now what we need to do is to change the color of the background layer as we had it previously. So select the background layer and reverse the background with the foreground colors. Select the paint bucket tool and change it. We can also make our text bold, so press up there and select the option bold. Now press the subscribe button to background layer, press Ctrl and T in Windows or Command and T in Mac, right click and click Scale. In this way we can scale our shape, for example make it longer, a bit smaller, etc. Now we need to create a new layer on top of the other layers and name it to YouTube logo background. This will serve as our background for the YouTube icon as well. So change the color to white and select the rounded rectangle tool. We need to create a rectangle, and let's keep it white and keep the edges to 22 pixels. Now what we need to do is to create a new layer and name it to YouTube logo triangle, and make sure you have the layer selected, and let's change the color to, let's say, red. Now to form a triangle you need to select the polygon tool and make sure you set the sides up there to 3. Now hold Shift and drag with your mouse to create the triangle. If we press Ctrl and Z to undo and we don't hold the Shift, you can see what happens. It will be difficult to align the shape, make the base flat, and then rotate it to the desired location. So make sure you always hold down the Shift key and drag the shape with your mouse to increase or decrease it. So let's bring the triangle down there. Make sure you have the layer selected, and to flip the triangle you need to go to Edit, Transform, and then press Rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Now we need to make it slightly smaller, so hold the Shift and drag the triangle with your mouse and put it in the middle. Now what we need to do is to select our YouTube background and select all. Now if you press both the align buttons, you will notice that the shape will center in the middle of the background layer. Click on the YouTube logo triangle, select all, and center the layer in the vertical direction only. Perfect. And then press Deselect. Then select the YouTube logo triangle and make it a bit smaller. And select both of the layers and drag them here. Now press Ctrl and T in Windows or Command and T in Mac. Take your mouse in the corners and rotate the shapes approximately 20 to 30 degrees. Okay, that looks good. So this is our base shape, and what we can do is to add some shadows, change some properties, create some lighting to the layers in order to make it look more professional. Select the subscribe button to background layer, and we will create a new layer on top of that and name it to lighting. Now deactivate all of the layers and we'll create a nice gradient on this shape layer. Now select the rectangle tool and using the new layer, drag a rectangle approximately in the middle of the shape. Now what we need to do is to change the color to white and then select the gradient tool and press there. And select the foreground to transparent in the presets. And you need to make sure that this is white and press OK. Now click in the middle, hold the shift in order for the line to stay in the vertical direction and drag with your mouse. Now, if we undo and we stop the line in the middle, the gradient color will be lower. So we need to stop the line at the top to create a nice uniform lighting effect. As you can see, we still have some white color at the edges. We need to remove that color. So what we need to do is that we need to create a mask. So we need to select the lighting layer and then press the small rectangle here on the subscribe button to background layer and then click the mask layer icon to add a mask. Now we get to see this layer here in black and white. What it means is that when the layer is black, we cannot see it. When the layer is white, we can see it. And we can see any changes we have done. Let's go to opacity and drop the opacity to, let's make it around 22%. Now we need to activate all of the layers and then go to the text layer, press right click and then select blending options. This will give us a window with many features we can use. As you can see here, if we change the opacity, it affects the layer. So make sure this is set to 100%. And now we need to add and drop shadow. So let's change the opacity to approximately 43-44%. For the distance, let's change it to 8 pixels. The spread, let's change it to approximately 2%. And for the size, let's change it to approximately, let's say, 9 pixels. In regards to the contour plot, we need to select the first option, which is the linear case. And now we have a nice shadow effect. Now we need to go to the YouTube logo background, right click and select blending options. We need to add a drop shadow effect and let's change the opacity to, let's say, 58%. For the distance, we will keep it to, let's say, 8 pixels. For the spread, we will make it 8%. And for the size, we will keep it to, let's decrease it slightly, 16 pixels. For the contour, we will keep it in the linear case. Now select the YouTube logo triangle, right click and blending options. We will add and drop shadow to this layer as well. So we need to change the opacity to, let's say, 40%. For the distance, we will reduce it slightly to 4 pixels. For the spread, we will make it 4%. And for the size, we'll go with 5 pixels. For the contour, set it to linear. Again, you can also use any blending mode you wish according to your needs. For example, you have normal, dissolve mode. I'm just showing you the way, guys. The destiny is yours. Now let's select the lighting layer and let's change the opacity. Let's increase it slightly to 26%. That's perfect. Now select both the YouTube logo, triangle and background, and let's increase both the shapes slightly. That's good. Now what we can do is to add a shadow effect on the subscribe background layer. So create a new layer on the top of the rest of the layers here and name it to subscribe button 1 background mask, and drag the layer on the top of the subscribe button 1 background, and you will see what we will do in a few moments. Now select the lighting layer and create a new layer on top of it and name it to subscribe button 1 background 2, and select the layer, and we'll set the background to white using the paint bucket tool. Deselect the layers, the lighting 2, and what we will do is that we will create a mask around the background layer of the subscribe button. So make sure you have this layer selected and then go to the Elliptical Marquee tool and using your mouse drag an ellipse shape around the subscribe text. Now go to select and press inverse to inverse the selected layers, and then edit, fill, and make sure the contents is set to white and press OK. Now we have this shape. This is basically a combination of both the white background with the subscribe background layer. Now the reason we created the additional white background layer was to not include any of the base background color, which is a pink color included in the mask. Now to create the mask, we need to have the subscribe button 1 background layer selected and then press on the rectangle here on the subscribe button 1 background layer in order to select both the shapes, and press the mask icon down here. And now our mask has been created. Now we can make all of our layers visible, and we can also delete the white background layer we created before. Now make sure you have the layer mask selected, and what we will do is that we will reduce the opacity to, let's say, 51%. Now right click on the layer and select blending options. Now we'll add a drop shadow and we'll change the opacity to, let's say, 29%. Let's change the distance to, let's say, 13 pixels. For the spread, we'll change it to 16%, and for the size, we'll change it to 13 pixels. For the contour, we can use the cone option to form the additional shadow there. We can also add a stroke to make the icon more cool. So what we can do is that let's select the mask, right click and select blending options, and we'll add a stroke. And let's set the gradient to foreground to transparent. And we can change the position to outside, inside, center. Let's select center as a position and let's change the size to, let's say, 6 pixels. And you can change the position also of the stroke, where you want the stroke to be inside or outside the selected layer, and you can really do a lot of variations. and then press OK. An additional thing we can do is to add a shadow to the overall layer. So select the top layer and create a new layer, and we can name it to shadow. Now select the Elliptical Marquee tool and let's draw a small shape. Right click on the shape, feather, let's set the feather radius to 5 pixels and press OK. Now, what we need to do is to inverse the foreground and background colors, so we can get the gray color. How we can do that? We need to press this small icon there. We need to go to Edit, Fill, and make sure the contents is set to the foreground color and press OK. Now select the shadow layer and bring it slightly below the gray background shape. And what you can also do is to make sure you have the shadow layer selected, right click and select Scale. And you can scale the layer according to your liking. You can expand it, you can add perspective, you can add rotation, you can do a lot of variations. Now deselect the shadow layer. So now let's zoom into the YouTube logo icon, and in many cases you will notice that the shapes you draw using the pen tool are pixelated and not have smooth edges. In our shape I would also like to add a smooth curvature at the corners to make it look more a curved shape. So we need to play with the layer properties. What we need to do to avoid pixelated shapes is that first let's merge these two layers together, which correspond to our gray background layer. Select the quick selection tool and make sure you have the layers selected. Now what we need to do is to click to the mask layer icon, right click on the mask and then click select and mask. Now what we did is that we accessed the global refinement properties of the selected layer, and from here we can change the view to black or white. We'll keep it as white at the moment, and this helps to have more visibility in the pixelated shape we may have. Now what we need to do is to play with the global refinement properties, which involves the parameters smooth, feather, contrast, and shift edge. Let's increase the smooth parameter to, let's say, 16. For the feather, it basically softens the edges of the shape. Let's make it 4.8 pixels. Let's increase the contrast to, let's say, 70%. And for the shift edge, we can decrease it to, let's say, minus 13%. And now what we need to do is that we need to click OK. And if we zoom in our shape, you can see that the edges of the shape layer are completely smooth. And this is how you can smooth shapes from being pixelated. That was a tutorial for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful today. And if you like the tutorial, please subscribe to not miss any future creative related tutorials. Smash that button. Thank you so much for watching. I am Stathis and I will see you in the next one. By then, take care.